The first time I saw the construction barge floating across my lake, I thought someone was doing routine dock maintenance. That illusion shattered when I grabbed my binoculars and read the massive banner stretched across the platform. Lake Riverside Estates, premier waterfront dining, coming soon. My coffee mug froze halfway to my lips. I'd owned this property for 32 years. The lake, all 47 acres of it, sat entirely within my property boundaries. My grandfather had purchased this land in 1958, back when it was nothing but timber and marshland. He dammed the creek himself, creating this pristine body of water. I'd inherited it, paid the taxes on it, and maintained it at considerable expense. This wasn't some public reservoir. This was mine, and the Riverside Estates HOA had just planted a restaurant in the middle of it. I stormed my truck, gravel spraying as I tore down the driveway toward the Riverside Estates development. The subdivision had sprung up 8 years ago on the eastern shore, just beyond my property line. When the developers approached me about lake access, I'd been generous. Too generous, apparently. I granted them an easement to use a boat ramp at the southern tip of the lake, thinking it meant residents could launch kayaks and fishing boats. You know, normal neighborly lake activities. I hadn't anticipated a floating restaurant. The HOA office sat in a converted cottage near the subdivision entrance. I didn't bother knocking. The door banged against the wall as I entered, startling a woman with helmet hair and too much coral lipstick. Her nameplate read Patricia Caldwell, HOA president. "Mr. Morrison," she said, her smile rigid and rehearsed. What a surprise. "Cut the act, Patricia. What the hell is that monstrosity on my lake?" She adjusted her reading glasses, projecting an air of false innocence. "Oh, you mean the Lake House Bistro? Is it exciting? Our residents have been asking for more amenities, and waterfront dining really elevates property values." "On my lake?" "Well, technically, the easement you granted gives us access to water." She pulled out a folder, sliding a document across her desk. "See? Right here. Reasonable use of lake for recreational purposes." Recreational purposes means jet skis and pontoon boats, not a commercial restaurant. Patricia's smile turned sharp. "Our legal counsel disagrees. Dining is recreation, Mr. Morrison. And since the restaurant is floating, not built on your land, it exists in the water covered by our access rights." I felt heat crawling up my neck. "You ambushed me. You knew exactly what you were doing. We're following the letter of our agreement." She stood, signaling the conversation was over. "The Lake House Bistro opens in 3 weeks. I do hope you'll join us for the grand opening. Residents get priority reservations, but I'm sure we can squeeze you in." I left before I said something I'd regret. That night, I couldn't sleep. Through my bedroom window, I watched work lights blazing on the lake as construction crews worked the night shift. The sound of power tools echoed across the water. They were building fast, probably trying to finish before I could get an injunction. By morning, I'd contacted my attorney, Michael Chun. We'd known each other since college. "Read the easement carefully," I told him over the phone, pacing my porch. "There has to be a way to stop this." Michael was quiet for a long moment. "Dale, I'll be honest. The language is vague enough that they might actually have legal standing. Reasonable use is subjective. Fighting this could take years and cost you 6 figures, minimum, and you might lose. So I'm just supposed to let them turn my lake into their personal profit center?" I didn't say that. I said litigation is risky, but there might be other options. I could hear the smile in his voice. "The easement gives them lake access through that southern boat ramp, right?" "Right. The only boat ramp on the lake." "And who owns the land that boat ramp sits on?" I paused. "I do. The easement just gives them permission to use it. Permission you granted. Permission that, depending on how it's written, you might be able to restrict if they're violating the spirit of the agreement." A slow smile spread across my face. "Michael, you brilliant son of a bitch. I'm just thinking out loud, Dale. But if you wanted to say, perform necessary maintenance on that boat ramp, block it off for safety reasons while you make repairs, that would be your right as a property owner." Necessary maintenance. I liked the sound of that. The next morning, I drove to a construction rental yard and leased the biggest excavator they had. By noon, I'd positioned it directly across the boat ramp, bucket lowered, completely blocking access. Then I erected Orin construction fencing and posted signs. Danger! Boat ramp closed for emergency repairs. Unstable foundation. And no trespassing. I'd barely finished when Patricia's silver Mercedes came screaming down the access road. She jumped out, face purple with rage. "What do you think you're doing?" "Emergency repairs," I said calmly, leaning against the excavator. "Had an engineering assessment done. Turns out all that heavy commercial traffic you've been running through here, construction barges, supply boats, has compromised the ramp's structural integrity. Safety hazard. Could collapse at any moment. This is sabotage. This is property maintenance. I'd hate for someone to get hurt because I neglected my responsibility as a landowner." I handed her a document. "Here's the engineer's report. Repairs could take, 6 to 8 months. Maybe longer." Patricia's hand trembled as she snatched the report. "The restaurant opens in 3 weeks. We have suppliers, staff, reservations. You can't just—" "I can actually. This is my land. That's my ramp. And right now it's closed. We'll sue you into oblivion." "Try it. I've already spoken to my attorney. I'm well within my rights to maintain my property. But please, tie this up in court. I've got time and money." "Do you?" "Because from what I hear, the HOA spent most of its reserve fund on that floating restaurant. Legal fees might get expensive." Patricia's face went from purple to pale. Behind her, I could see several HOA board members emerging from their cars. Having followed her down, one of them, a man named Richard, stepped forward. "Dale, let's be reasonable here," he said, using the tone people reserve for talking someone off a ledge. "We've invested nearly $2 million into the Lake House Bistro. That's resident money, real people savings. Should have thought about that before you violated the spirit of our agreement. We have a contract." Patricia shrieked. "We have an easement for recreational use." I corrected. "Not commercial development. You weaponize vague language to exploit my generosity. So now I'm weaponizing my property rights." Another board member, a woman named Susan, spoke up. "What do you want? Money? We could arrange a monthly fee." "I don't want your money. I want you to remove that restaurant from my lake." The group exchanged glances. Patricia looked like she was going to have a stroke. "That's impossible," Richard said. "We have a 5-year contract with the restaurant operator. They're investors. We'd be facing multiple lawsuits if we back out now. Then I guess you got a problem, because that boat ramp stays closed until the restaurant is gone." Over the next week, the situation escalated beautifully. The restaurant operator called me directly, offering bribes that started at $5,000 and climbed to $50,000. I declined them all. Patricia filed a complaint with the county, which went nowhere once they reviewed the property records and saw I owned the land. The HOA's attorney sent threatening letters that Michael casually batted away. Meanwhile, the Lake House Bistro sat completed but inaccessible, a floating monument to hubris. Without boat access, they couldn't bring in supplies, staff, or customers. The grand opening was postponed once, then twice. The restaurant operator threatened to sue the HOA for breach of contract. I watched it all from my porch, drinking coffee and feeling deeply satisfied. On day 12 of my blockade, Patricia appeared at my door, alone this time. No Mercedes, no board members. She parked at the main road and walked up my driveway. "Can we talk?" she asked. Her voice lacked its usual sharp edge. She looked exhausted. I gestured to the porch chairs. We sat. "The restaurant operator is suing us," she said quietly. "The residents are furious. Half of them want to recall the entire board. Property values are actually dropping because of the controversy." She laughed bitterly. "The exact opposite of what we wanted." "Patricia, I tried to tell you." I know. We got greedy. We saw an opportunity to add something special, something that would make Riverside Estates stand out. We convinced ourselves the easement language gave us the right." She looked at me. "We were wrong." "Yeah, you were. What if we compromise? What if we convert the restaurant into a community center? Free access for both our residents and you? No commercial operation, just a shared space. Genuinely recreational, like the easement intended. I considered this. Who maintains it? We do. HOA covers all costs. You pay nothing, but you have full access. We could even give you a key, let you reserve it for personal events. And it's in writing? Legal, binding, no wiggle room? Michael can write himself. I nodded slowly. That works. That actually works. The relief on Patricia's face was profound. Thank you, Dale. Really, thank you. 3 months later, the lake house, no longer a bistro, reopened as a community gathering space. The HOA actually did a nice job with it. Big windows, comfortable furniture, a kitchen for catering, but no commercial service. I hosted my daughter's 40th birthday party there last month. Even Patricia came, though things are still a bit awkward between us. My excavator stayed parked across that boat ramp for 47 days total. Longest emergency repair in county history. Probably. But sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's just making people face the consequences of their own overreach. And every time I look at that building floating on my lake, I smile. Because now it's not a monument to their greed. It's a reminder that generosity has limits, and property rights matter. Even on a sunny day, surrounded by kayakers and families, I can still see Patricia's face when she realized I'd actually done it, that I blocked the only boat ramp and brought her grand scheme crashing down. Best cup of coffee I ever had.